Hi, this is Jason McCarthy at Wycombe Wanderers, and you're listening to Wycombe Sound.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Good evening and welcome to this week's Wycombe Wanderers Show. It is Luke here instead of Colin.
Oh dear.
I know, I'm sorry, Colin. It is, if you're counting, Series 4, Episode 9 this evening, and on the way, even though Colin's not here, all the normal stuff. We'll chat to Phil in a few moments' time for our pre-match briefing ahead of Charlton on Saturday. Carl Robinson from the Wycombe Wanderers Foundation chats to Colin about their street soccer initiative, which kicked off last week. Charlie Goff on Wycombe Wanderers under-19s based at Henley College. Wycombe Wanderers Women forward Katie Riddington. Former midfielder, captain, coach, manager, very briefly, Keith Ryan on his 30 years in Football League. And of course there is the Wycombe Wanderers manager, Matt Bloomfield, at this week's press session. However, as always, let's start by talking to Phil. Evening, Phil, and a great win on Tuesday evening.
Yeah, it's a much maligned competition by the fans, and the attendance reflected that as well. But for the young players of both teams, this competition is a fantastic opportunity for game time and to catch the eye. I think there were over 20 scouts from other teams there as well on the night. So a big opportunity for the young lads, and from a Wycombe perspective, a really good night. Another clean sheet, another win, and even with 9 changes, it all counts for momentum. Great to see Franco Ravazzoli get his debut, Declan Skura full debut, Kieran Sadley a full debut, Taylor Clark coming off the bench for his debut too. I think I've remembered them all. Plus also vital minutes for Jasper Pattenden, David Wheeler on his this is his pre-season almost, having had an injury throughout the summer. So a really good opportunity for the youngsters, opportunity for the more established players to get match fit and get themselves in the frame for the league games on Saturday. So, a really good night. 3 points on the board in whatever group we're in this competition, with the other 2 drawing. So with Wimbledon getting the penalty win, they got 2 points, Stevenage on 1 point. So technically one more win in the next 2 games should be enough to get us into the next round for the first time for a few years. So a really good night, and after the game it was a buoyant Matt Bloomfield that I spoke to. Gaffer, another win, that's great for momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. I just said to the boys, it's a nice habit to get into, winning games, and it's really important to try and keep that momentum going. We spoke to the boys before about performance. It was an opportunity for several of the boys to up their minutes, and an opportunity for several of the boys to try and impress and show what they've got. So we didn't want them to do anything that they haven't been doing in development games, some of the younger boys, and I thought they stuck to the task really well, and it was a deserved victory, and like we said earlier on, it's a nice habit to get into.
Several debuts as well. Talk us through those.
Yeah, I think that obviously we think a lot of the development boys that we've got in the building. We haven't gone big on numbers. We've tried to keep the quality as high as we possibly can, and we want to try and dip the boys in when we feel like they're ready. Declan's someone who's played really, really well in pre-season and development games. Jasper's been not just knocking on the door, banging on the door all pre-season and the start of the season, so we felt that was really important to give him 90 minutes and have a real good look at him in a wing-back position, which is obviously the way we've been playing recently. So that was fantastic. And later on, Taylor Clark, who again has come from a slightly lower level and had been with us a short amount of time and trying to pick up his minutes in development football, but I really feel like he deserved an opportunity to get on the pitch even for a small amount of time tonight. So a real mature boy who we're really pleased to have, and I thought the boys acquitted themselves well. If I've missed anyone, then I apologise.
But also good minutes for the likes of Kieran Sadlier for a debut, David Wheeler on his way back from injury still getting the minutes, and minutes for Vokesy too. Yeah,
and Franco in goal, I apologise, I missed out Franco. I thought he was very secure. I thought he did everything that could have been asked. His distribution was very good. He was very commanding in goal. Obviously we know lots about Sads. He's someone who's been well known to us at the football club for a number of years. And Will's obviously working his way back from his injury, trying to eke him towards 90 minutes as soon as safely as we can. So all in all, a really satisfying evening.
Talk us through the penalty at the end there, because it was retaken, but from the gantry, it wasn't entirely clear what it was given for.
No, I wasn't. Obviously, Lukey's got a very good penalty record, so it was first and foremost, it was a big surprise when he missed. And I think the ref said that the goalkeeper moved off his line, so encroaching, which means a retake. Obviously, don't have a great view from the dugout to see that, but I don't think Lukey's is going to miss twice, and he stuck it away. So I think it was a well-deserved victory. Felt like we had lots of chances. I've not looked at the stats or watched it back yet, but felt like we had a lot of shots, a lot of chances. Sads particularly came onto a lot second half. Dale and TJ had a couple. So it felt like we were in the ascendancy. I thought Crystal Palace and the young team that they had acquitted themselves extremely well. Just had a real good chat with Darren Powell in the office, and congratulations to their boys, because it looks like a few of them have got big futures ahead of them.
And again, to underline the importance of the competition for them, they look really gutted at the end to lose this one.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we just spoke to them there that, for them it's a learning, which of these boys are going to really take on the opportunity and kick themselves forward, in a competitive game against senior opposition. So for them it's a massive learning for them and their staff, and a big step forward in the young lads in their career. So I think it's a good competition. I think it's really important that we're allowed to mix and match, and I think it's really important that, like we say, off the back of tonight, you've got Sads getting closer to 90, Will's getting closer to 90, you've got TJ got 90 in his legs, Jasper, Declan, all the boys we spoke about. I thought Keezy was top draw. The way he acquits himself as a senior member of the team, as captain, and I thought he was top draw tonight. So very good, and we're pleased with the night's work.
A few of my friends were at Adams Park on Tuesday, and they were very impressed with what they saw from such people like Jasper Patterson.
Yeah, big opportunity for Jasper as well. He's had to be patient. He's not had his chance in the league yet this season. And just talking to Gareth McCleary on commentary the other night, and we see it ourselves up at the training ground, just how hard he works, not just out on the pitches, but he's always the last one in the gym in the week as well. He's really grafted for that opportunity and didn't disappoint. And, with the injury to Jason McCarthy being a longer term one than we originally thought, right wing back could be a position where Jasper could be required. So going back to what I said earlier on about the importance of this competition for the younger players and the manager, it's given Matt Bloomfield a really good look at Jasper Patterson at right wing back in a competitive game, and it was a physical competitive game against a Crystal Palace side. I think the most physical side I've seen in an under-21s game in this competition since it started like that. So yeah, great opportunity for Jasper, and he didn't disappoint. I thought he did really well. He likes to get forward as well. We know what his attacking ability is about, but a disciplined defensive performance as well, and you learn from every game as well. And Richard Keogh in that back three would have been excellent for Jasper as well. And we spoke to Jasper after the game, and he's normally pretty bubbly. He was very buzzing on Tuesday. Jasper, a very competitive 90 minutes and the all-important 3 points. How was it?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was good. Games like that, playing against sort of under-23 Premier League oppositions, you don't really know what to expect. We did as much prep on them as we could, and we knew there'd be a side that will play football, as most Cat 1 academies do. But they have that physical presence as well that we saw tonight. They weren't afraid to go in behind. They had pace in the final third. But no, it was a competitive game, and obviously happy to come away with the win. And
how important is this competition? Because it's given you that 90 minutes and hopefully more to come in the group stages, and more again if we get out of the group. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you hear people talk about the competition a little bit in probably a negative light, but I mean, I think it speaks for itself when you see the finals at Wembley. Everybody wants that opportunity to go to Wembley, and for people like myself and others, and it's good opportunities to get 90 minutes in the tank. So yeah, we take this competition extremely seriously. Gaffer said before the game, and you can see the sort of team he put out tonight. It wasn't a token gesture at all, and we wanted to go and win the game, and we did that. Gareth McCleary on comms says how hard you work in training, so it must be great to be rewarded with that 90 minutes as well, and that opportunity. Yeah, of course. I mean, sort of training every day is all you can do, work hard. I appreciate that, G. I mean, we're having a bit of a rig off at the moment, so yeah, I'm working hard to try and get on his level. But no, yeah, work hard in training, and you do that to get those opportunities, and yeah, grateful the Gaffer gave me that tonight, and hopefully I repaid the favour. It was probably the most competitive game in terms of physicality I've seen against an under-21 team in the few years this competition's had those teams in. How was it out on the pitch? Yeah, physical. It was tough. They were physical. They were a good side. Like you say, there was a fair few yellow cards in the game. There wasn't light of a couple of challenges. But I think you want that. You want that competitive edge. Me personally, I enjoy that. I like that little bit of nastiness in the game. I think it was handled well, and I think we dealt with that well, and we really put our stamp on the game. And what was it like having someone like Richard Keogh marshalling the defence? He's obviously a debutant alongside him as well in Declan Skura, but having those experienced heads like the David Wheeler, etc. as well, that must have been really good to have alongside you.
Yeah, having players like that is priceless. I mean, Kesey's made the most championship starts out of anyone. So, I mean, having that sort of player around to learn from, I mean, not just today, every day in training, just being able to pick his brains. He might think I'm annoying him at time to time, but no, it's absolutely priceless. And one thing that sort of you hear from experienced pros is badger me, take everything you can, because they have got so much to give. So yeah, it's great to play alongside those players and learn from them every day. And we do learn a lot as young players from people like that.
Another stat from GMAC on the commentary, Luke Lee, he's never missed a penalty. Nearly did tonight. Yeah,
I mean, everyone had their heart in their mouth, and I mean, when the retake was given and he put it in, I said to him when he was celebrating, I said, "Thank God you put that in," because I was giving it the big one on the edge of the box to some of their players. So, thank goodness it was in the corner. I mean, yeah, of course, he keeps his record just about, sums him up, don't he, the lucky boy.
From the trophy then, back into the league, it is Charlton on Saturday. Before Saturday's game though, 2-0 win over Blackpool last weekend, 1-0 win over Northampton, and before that a 2-1 win against, as we'll all remember, Bristol Rovers. It's been going rather well in the last few games.
Yeah, there's some momentum building in the league, which is fantastic. After the first 2 games of the season, where if you looked online, the season was over, it's a bit of a weird time of year. I always find this first 10 games. I've always said it, wait till 10 games, have a look at the table, and that's a really good reflection on where you are over a body of games, almost or just under a quarter of the way through the season. And it's shaping up okay for Wycombe Wanderers. Obviously, we've got another 3 games to go before we hit that magic 10-game mark. But I think Wycombe have been excellent these last 3 games in the league and really shown some real progress. Let's not forget the huge amount of change that happened in the summer. That might explain the slow start in the first 2 games in the league. And as Matt Bloomfield pointed out, don't get too low when things are really going against you like they were in the first 2 games. But equally, let's not get too high because we've won a few games back-to-back as well. There's a very long season to go. Many twists and turns ahead, no doubt, and it's about keeping as level-headed as possible. And it's great to see Matt Bloomfield adopting that strategy. But who knows what we can do on Saturday. Charlton are in a fairly sort of turbulent start to the season themselves. They find themselves at the wrong end of the table. It's going to be the first game in charge for Michael Appleton at the Valley, his second game as Charlton manager, and they've got quite a lot of players there. They've had quite a lot of turnover themselves, so it could be a good time to get them.
That we found out, and you mentioned then about Charlton, about the changes they had over the summer, but also with Wycombe, with the amount of new players coming in, and something actually that if people watch this week's pre-match drills, we'll hear Chris Freno say about relationships being built, and we've seen it more and more over the last couple of weeks, and they are really starting to gel now.
Yeah, and the match environment is very different to the training ground as well. So they've been getting to know each other up at the training ground all through pre-season, and we've seen how they're bonding and how well they've done there. But it's those relationships during the intensity of a match are the really, really important ones. And we've seen that taking place in front of our very eyes. And, there's no real replica for that, for the cut and thrust of League One. And, they've had to learn that the harsh way at some points. But after that first 2 games, we've seen some really, really good signs. And, I spoke about it a lot in the commentary in the last 3 or 4 games. Freddie Potts, you can see his arc. We all know what a gifted footballer is, but he's really getting to grips with the physical nature of League One now and starting to really affect games and show his real quality on the ball as well at times. So long may that continue, and that's happening from back to front.
Something we should also mention and check in on how you are doing after Sunday.
Yeah, okay, actually. Monday was sort of wake up and sort of dare to move my legs whilst looking at the ceiling thinking, is this going to be a long day? Not too bad. I actually went for another walk on Monday just to kind of have a stretch, which was good. Tuesday, which everyone told me would be the bad day, it was a bit of a struggle, especially having to get up to the gantry on Tuesday evening for the game.
I was slightly concerned for you. I was thinking if we could get sort of like a stair lift or something up to it.
But yeah, doing all right. I played tennis yesterday, and the first half hour was fantastic. And then I got tired incredibly quickly. So,
What an atmosphere at Adams Park, though, when you returned.
Yeah, that was fantastic. What a day as well. And, what a club. Because, Jeff Stelling and everyone at Prostate Cancer UK has said it. What a wonderful club. What a wonderful reception and host. and it put the club in the best of lights. And Bill would have been proud of the whole club, I think, on Sunday. And what an effort by everybody, because the huge amount of money that's been raised, and also equally as importantly, the amount of awareness that's been raised as well. And just walking around the whole route, the amount of cars tooting at us, one or two that perhaps not too impressed having to wait for 400 people to cross the road, but I'm sure they'll...
Sounds like a bit of a joke. 400 people cross the road, why?
Yeah, I'm sure they'll get over their little wait, but yeah, I mean, brilliant day.
Yeah.
And the people that we met along the route, the stories, fantastic.
£234,000 raised so far, and there's still plenty of time to donate as well.
Yeah, if you haven't donated, and if you can, I know it's not easy at the moment, but if you can, it's a worthwhile cause, because 1 in 8 men will suffer from prostate cancer. You'll know someone that's had it, you'll know someone who's going to get it, and it needs to be... We need to find a cure for this as soon as possible.
If you can't get to the game on Saturday, live commentary here on Wycombe Sound and on Wanderers TV, who have you got with you?
Very excited to say we've got Duncan Alexander, a.k.a. Oily Sailor, a.k.a. Opta Joe, original Opta Joe. So it's never dull with Duncan Alexander, because he's very stats-based, but he's very entertaining with it. And he'll often find something completely new that you wouldn't have ever thought of about a game or a player or anything really. And he's a Wycombe diehard, so it'll be interesting to see his thoughts on the game.
Let's not give it away also, but Tuesday's Ringing the Blues, it's going to be a good one. Yeah,
it's going to be co-hosted with a Wycombe Wanderers player for the first time.
Find out who that is on Tuesday. A big thank you to Phil, as always. And as mentioned, Colin has been talking to Carl Robinson from the Wycombe Wanderers Foundation about their street soccer initiative, which kicked off last week.
So we actually got approached by Street Soccer Foundation a while ago about doing one of their provisions called Street Soccer Academy, which is a provision for 18 to 30-year-olds, which is made up of football coaching, mindset training, and employability skills for those that are homeless or on the cusp of homelessness or are currently struggling to get into employment, so they're currently unemployed. As a foundation, we're trying to use provisions like this that actually we can use it for a vehicle for good, and actually we can better these people's lives from it, whether that's improving their soft skills so they can go on into employment, or even if it's getting a job and getting employed, that could then take them out of either being on the cusp of homelessness, because they then have a bit of sustainability in their life and a platform that is more stable.
So what do the sessions consist of?
So the sessions consist of, it's on a Thursday from 10 till 11:30, which is a practical football session, which will be fun games, also with a bit of elements of football coaching added into it. So kind of building those skills up through actually the practical side. And then they will then come to Adams Park, and then they will then do a session from 12 till 2, which is normally a theory-based one, kind of just building on what we've worked on in the morning, and a lot of like the mindset and also those soft skill development.
So what sort of feedback have you had from those who have taken part already?
Some of those have actually said that they've actually really enjoyed it so far. Even like stuff with the mindset, they didn't actually realise until they've actually started, or they've been kind of not taught it, but they've been guided. And actually they're looking at things in more of a positive aspect and just more positive about their outcomes within the future.
That must be so positive for yourself as well, and the rest of the team who are delivering this as well, just to see their development even in the early stages. Yeah,
and that's the thing. That's why we do what we do, because we love helping people. We love helping the community. And actually having that platform to help people like that is absolutely massive and superb for us.
And great to be able to offer that as well, because I think many people who are in a difficult situation might not realise that there is this sort of support and help available for them.
Yeah, exactly that. Especially one thing that I've noticed since being in this role is actually you actually take things for granted, and actually you take a step back and you're like, actually, we need to be doing more to help people. And that's why we're so good as a foundation, that we help the community, and especially a program like this. We're helping people that have come up on hard times, but actually we can help them either out of that, or even if it's guiding them on to the next stages, actually then they can then get themselves out of that.
And what do you hope that they take away from this course?
So I hope they take away unbelievable experiences. So some of the opportunities are like playing. So at the end of the course, they get to play a tournament at London Stadium, which is the home of West Ham, or those that know it as the Olympic Stadium, which they get to play against other teams like West Ham, Leicester, Chelsea, Sunderland, Liverpool, Millwall, just to name a few. But it's all using those experiences and actually how we can develop them into being the best versions of themselves, which I think is absolutely key.
And how can we find out more?
So the best way of doing it is they can either email me, which is carl.robinson@wwfc.com, or they can ring us for more info on 01494 455 736. Thank you for giving us this platform, and hopefully we can get as many people on board and we can make an even bigger impact than we have already.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound. The Wycombe Wanderers Show, Thursdays from 7. 106.6 FM. Wycombe Sound.
Still to come on this week's Wycombe Wanderers Show, Charlie Goff tells us all about the Wycombe Wanderers under-19s at Henley College, plus the latest from the Wycombe Wanderers Women as well. Time though for this week's ex-player chat, with always thanks to Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association. This week's chat is with a former midfielder, captain, coach, manager, and talking about his 30 years in the Football League with Colin. It's the one and only Keith Ryan.
Funnily enough, I was speaking to John Taylor, who does a lot around the club, great guy, involved in the Ex-Players Association, as you know. And we both were amazed that it's 30 years. It seems incredible to think that, all those special memories were 30 years ago. Yeah, incredible.
And I guess as well, it seems even more of an achievement, if you like, kind of looking back on it now than when you were involved in it at the time.
I think all of those occasions sort of surprise you, the enormity of them. I know we're talking about, at the moment, the entry into the Football League, which was massive. It was life-changing. The biggest probably thing that's happened barring my family life, my children and everything, my marriage. But football-wise, the biggest thing that happened to me, because it was life-changing. It allowed me to play professional football, which is brilliant. But even, the games that I played in the FA Cup and, the semi-final of the FA Cup, when I watch games now, the semi-final of the FA Cup, I think, wow, to think I've been involved in that was pretty cool as well. Because when you're wrapped up in it, you're right, you don't really realise the enormity. You're in a bit of a bubble and you just get on with it. It's your job. So, but we look back and it's an incredible achievement. And what it did do is pave the way for the modern-day Wycombe Wanderers, who are doing great at the moment under Matty Bloomfield. So, we should be very proud of our achievements.
And did it feel like, a real development of both the club and obviously the team as well, and the way that, Martin got you all playing, and there's a real, we've spoken before about there was a real spine of the team, wasn't there, and a real kind of style of play as well?
Yeah, it was, as I say, it was big, and we knew the enormity of it, and it was so special in that we were non-league. A lot of us didn't have massive careers in front of us, as in sort of work-wise outside of football. But what we did hope for was that football would be our career going forward. So, all the effort and application that we put into all of the games that season were purely to change our lives. If you'd have said to me a couple of years before, when I was playing almost park football for Berkhamsted Town, that 2 years in the future I would potentially be a professional footballer, getting paid to play football every day, I'd have thought you were mental, to be honest. But after being given the opportunity to sign for Wycombe, me, Steve Guppy, Dave Carroll, Jason Cousins, the list is endless. All wanted that for ourselves, and I think that was the driving force, really, because the club were geared up for it. That's what they wanted. It was different for them, negotiating full-term contracts with everyone, ripping up the old part-time contracts, and moving into a new era was very exciting, and something, as I say, we should all be very proud of.
And it feels like as well, speaking to some of those people that you've mentioned as well, and Matt Crosley was on the show the other week talking about, we spoke to him ahead of that Sutton game, and there was that when you played against Sutton, and there was that belief in the change rooms that you would win, which is something that you can't just manufacture, I guess.
Exactly that. You talk about the character of the team, and I think if you asked anybody in that changing room on that day, specifically about that game at Sutton. We were down in the game from the first leg, but to a man, you if you'd have gone round to anyone and said, "Will you win today? Will you eventually get to Wembley again?" Everyone would have told you yes. And I think that was twofold in some ways. One, because it was instilled in us by Martin O'Neill, who was brilliant. We've all mentioned him before. He was a breath of fresh air for all of us guys. But equally, Martin picked players who really wanted to win, that would give their all to try and achieve and win things. We might not have been the best players sometimes, myself, certainly I watched players come and go that probably had more ability than I did, but I could pretty much guarantee you that nobody wanted to win more than I did, and nobody would leave everything on the pitch, to try and get results. So I know that stood me in good stead when Martin was picking teams, certainly to go out and win games of football and cup competition. I think that's why I played. Well, I know that I played every game in in the league season, every second of every game, I'm pretty sure, and all, if not most of all the games in the FA Trophy. So yeah, really good times.
And I'm sure you get asked a lot, but is it possible to say, what's so special about the club? Because obviously, just the fact alone that you played over 500 times is and obviously the current manager now, played and coached was there a long time as well.
Yeah, no, there's a special connection. Well, I can only speak for myself. Matty Bloomfield will tell you a different story. Dave Carroll, Jason Cousins, all these guys that played a lot of games. Mark West before us, and all the old boys that played in the 70s and 80s. Who played, Tony Horseman, who played countless games. I think there was a connection between the players, the team, the town. I certainly, as soon as I walked through the door, I felt very welcome. I felt as though that I'd been given an opportunity by Wycombe Wanderers. The other thing is that I never got tempted away. I was a little bit unfortunate getting injuries during that period. I'm pretty sure if I'd have stayed fit and clear of injury, I might well have moved on and played at a different level and for a different team. But my circumstances over my 17-year journey were that every time my contract was due for renewal, I was happy to sign it. They were happy to offer me one. Wycombe were happy to offer me one. And I just felt that it was a sort of a marriage made in heaven in some ways. I was fairly local. I was living in Amersham when I first started playing for Wycombe, and then when I moved out of my parental home, I was local all the time, and it's just been a really good coming together, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
It must have been such a special feeling as well to be at that one club and experience that whole working your way up, and then feeling more of a senior player and obviously being captain and helping others who are coming into the side as well, and then obviously going on to coach the team as well, and even manage for a short period.
Yeah. I can look back with pride on my playing career, but not only that, you're right, you've hit the nail on the head. And to go off on a tangent a little bit, I'm involved with, I live in a village called Flatwell Heath. It's quite a big village. It's got a football team. And you touched on it earlier. When you get older as a footballer, I believe you have a responsibility to give something back. I was helped along the way on my journey by many, many people that I was very grateful to for giving me the time, the patience to sit and talk to me and teach me about how to play and what it meant to be a Wycombe player. Through my Wycombe journey, I certainly got that encouragement. When I was older, when I got into my 30s, I felt as though I should give back to the younger players. I'm really pleased to say that I'm pretty sure me and others had influence on the likes of Matt Bloomfield and Russell Martin and all the guys that went off to do. Roger Johnson went to do some brilliant things in football and are doing great stuff in management now. Mike Williamson, there's a load of those players that are ex-players that are doing so well, certainly did in their career and in management. And I think you are duty bound to give a little bit back. That's my opinion. It might not be shared by everyone, but that's what I certainly felt. I was lucky enough to go onto the coaching staff, or again, I think I had something to offer. And now the reason why it's not full time, but the reason why I go on a rainy Tuesday or rainy Thursday to watch and help with Flackwell Heath. Nowadays, they've got two great guys that run the team, Chris Ayres and Paul Schoen. They do a great job, but I love to go up there and have an influence because I just think it's my duty to try and give back to my local team now. I mean, I love Wycombe, obviously. I've got a lot of history there, but I live in the village here in Flackwell, and I just want them to do well, and I want to impart some knowledge to those younger players who are, they might not aspire to be professional players, but I do think it's a bit of a duty of mine to give back and help where I can.
It just shows what football is as well, doesn't it? That you've got that sort of real connection to the sport, and because you can imagine, we've said to other ex-players as well, you can't imagine, me ringing you up and talking about, if you were an accountant, for example, some great numbers that you crunched 30 years ago, or something, that you did really well with a spreadsheet. It just doesn't seem the same, does it? And the experiences that you've had in dressing rooms and experiences, as you say, obviously with the cup at Villa Park as well.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. I think none of us would do it if we didn't love the sport. And I do say this, you can be frustrated with the sport and what goes on in and around it. And it's a tough environment, really, really is. And the more you know about behind the scenes at a football club, really, really tough, and there's some unscrupulous people, I'm sure, around these clubs all over the country. There's a lot of people undermining other people's positions to crawl over people to get to the top. Yeah, that happens. I'm sure it happens in big business as well. But you can't take away from the fact that, I can't take away from the fact that besides all that, it's the game I truly love. I can watch lots of sports and appreciate lots of sports, but nothing floats my boat like a game of football, and to be involved in it and to try and help and watch and nurture young people is quite important, I think, and to give them some standards, it's difficult at a lower level. I think young kids seem to think that it's the right thing to do to argue and answer back and have a row with referees and linesmen and other managers, and it's actually not. It's not the right thing to do. So all the way along the line, you have to try and enlighten these young lads who, if they want to have a serious go at it, they need to be respectful and humble and all the things that, Matthew Bloomfield and Gareth Ainsworth, instilled in his team in the more recent years. I just think it's important because it's our job to save football from all the rubbish that goes on around it.
And if you say it quickly, I think 30 years doesn't sound that long ago. But even in that time, you must have noticed how the game has changed. I mean, obviously we've spoken to players who've played for much longer ago, and the ball was much heavier, for example, when they were at Lokes Park on the slope and things like that. But even the time from when you started it, you must have noticed that there's been change in obviously the style of play and the pace of the game.
100%. Yeah. I mean, we played some good football, no doubt about it, no question. But it was blood and guts, and it was powerful, and it was the challenges were just so different to what they are now. I think the game has come on leaps and bounds, and sometimes not for the best, because a wholehearted tackle and a shoulder barge and whatever else used to go on years ago. I loved that side of the game, and I think the fans really loved it as well. But we need to protect players. There's no doubt about it. We lost too many players through injury over the years before now. We're still losing players through injury, but the guys get much more protection now, which has got to be the right way. If those changes have made the likes of Lionel Messi flourish and Ronaldo flourish and all the good young players that are coming through now, the Jude Bellinghams and the Fodens, blossom and come through, then that's got to be a good thing.
And you mentioned the coaching, obviously, that you're doing at Flackwell and that you've done at Wycombe as well. Do you have a real soft spot, I guess, more for players, especially who play in your position?
I do, yeah. But I mean, I was lucky, Colin. I played in lots of positions. So, yes, central midfield was my thing. And to me, it was always a running game. So I do harp on about you can be the best passer of the ball in the world, but you still have to run. So it's a running game. Midfielders have to be able to run. I think Roy Keane was one of the best at it. He was a motivator. He would say that the best ones had to run around. But equally, I played lots of games at centre half. I enjoy coaching centre halves and fullbacks and forwards. I played a lot. The cut run, I played most of my games as a centre forward. So I know the sort of things that people or the positions. I know the positions, and I can, as you say, sort of pass on a little bit of knowledge to those guys. And if I can, that's great. And if they don't want to listen, then that's fine as well. So, yeah, I just do what I feel is right. And if we get a bit of success from it, or if those lads can achieve something and have a small part of the enjoyment I got from winning games and winning leagues and winning cups, then I've succeeded.
And so impressive, obviously, the calibre of opposition, Wycombe are coming up against these days, obviously compared to when you were. But there must be, I guess, teams that Wycombe come up against. We've got Charlton coming up this weekend. There are certain games or teams, opposition, that really sort of pricks your memory and think, oh, yes, I remember clashes with them.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean, the Colchester games were brilliant, weren't they? That rivalry over time was phenomenal, and some good characters involved in those storylines. But equally, you talk about calibre of teams. It wasn't so long ago that we were playing the season that Man City got promoted from League One. We beat them home and away that year, and would you believe that? Manchester City and the amazing team they've got now is just incredible. So, I was lucky enough to play for many years and come up against some brilliant teams with loads of history. So it's just been a great career that I've really enjoyed thoroughly, and it's lovely to look back on and talk about.
You talked about the ex-players with the JDT as well. Of course, the dinner coming up in November, which I guess it has this sort of theme of this 30 years, and fantastic for you and ex-teammates to really get together. And obviously, there are so many that you're still in touch with, but I'm sure there'll be a few on the night that you'll be not seen for a while.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you'd be surprised. You might think that we get together more often. We actually don't. I mean, there's a few WhatsApp groups that are around that people sort of dip into and keep in touch with people. But yeah, it will be brilliant. I mean, as many people that can go will be great. It'd be lovely to see them. And I must just give a shout out to all the guys that do such tireless work for the ex-players association, because without them, John Taylor, Alan Hutchinson, John Bignall, and many, many more, I just don't know a club that has the same far-reaching effect on so many players. It's really, really impressive the way they reach out to ex-players, and we should support it as best we can. I mean, everyone's busy; they have busy lives. But if anyone's listening, any ex-players, please get in touch. Get in touch with the guys because it's a brilliant association, and we really need to support it as best we can.
Well, it's been fantastic to share your memories. Really appreciate your time.
Nice one, Colin. Great to speak to you.
Always great to hear from Keith Ryan, and a big thank you to the Ex-Players Association as always. Right, time to hear from Charlie Goff, who you may hear on the Saturday afternoon shows, either on Ring the Blues post-match reaction or with Luke Cashman. He's talking to Colin about the Wycombe Wanderers under-19s based at Henley College, and starts by talking about how it all got started.
It started up, the Wycombe under-19s, 2 years ago after COVID in 2021. Obviously, they had Henley football there and they were sort of still playing football. It was never linked with Wycombe. Then after COVID, it started up again, and I was the first group back to when it all began again. And I remember getting a trial there, and I was quite impressed with what they had to offer and the teams they were playing. So I remember I got into the team, and then the first year was a learning curve because it's an under-19s league with Chelsea, Tottenham, and these big players in their leagues, and they're very physical, and they're all 19-year-olds sort of. So for all us 16-year-olds going in, it was a bit of a learning curve. But I suppose that's how you learn and how you develop as a player, playing up against higher level opposition and people much stronger and much older than you. So yeah, definitely helped develop a few of the players there. So then going into the second year last year, we had a bit more of a bigger squad. So the year before there was only 30 of us in that first year, so it was more dependent on, there was 2 squads. It was kind of dependent on injuries and things like that. But as soon as the second year came around, there's about 60 players in there now, so it wasn't so dependent on them 30, so there was room to be allowed for a few injuries and things like that. So the second year last year was very positive for all three teams, to be honest. They started up a third team. They brought in Christian Williams, who was the manager of them. I was in between the thirds and the seconds, but they're all really good teams. I mean, the elite team, they were on course to win the league. Had great players in there. I mean, Seb de Versa was in there. Dylan Clark, who Seb's now at Marlow. Dylan Clark should be onto a higher level as well. And Ethan Clark, who always used to score every week. So yeah, they had good players last year, and they finished about second and third in their league. So and also the development teams. I was in the second development team. We were on course to get in the playoffs. I think we lost on goal difference, and we thought we were in, but we weren't. But yeah, that was a shame. But yeah, the last 2 years have been. There hasn't been much coverage over from Wycombe or around on social media. So this year I'm stepping in and running their social medias while I'm still involved with the programme. And yeah, I'm just trying to get it out there a bit more and starts here. I'm getting it on the radio and things like that.
It sounds a really impressive setup, and also standard of football as well.
The standard of football is second to none, really. It's the highest level outside of proper academy football. So for the National Youth League, yeah, you've got to be proper on it and proper good players. And yeah, that all helps in development, to be honest, as much as men's football is key as well to helping you develop as a player. Playing against these types of players in the National Youth League is another good step as well. I mean, it's not really men's football, but some of the players that do play in it are quite built like men and things like that. So yeah, it's highly competitive, and that's how you develop as a player, to be honest, testing yourselves against these high level oppositions.
And is there a chance that the youngsters could go on to play for Wycombe or perhaps other local clubs as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen that already where there's a player called Seb de Versa. He's now at Marlow, so he's just signed for Marlow not long ago, a few weeks ago. So it's great for him, and I've heard Wycombe could possibly be looking at him for the next, because he's still only 16. And if you looked at him, you wouldn't really think he's 16, and the way he's built and the way he plays, it's just like a 20-year-old. He's so calm on the ball and so composed. So yeah, he's signed up for Marlow. I mean, we've got the goalkeeper as well, Harrison. I think he's in sort of step 4, step 5. Ethan Clark, who left last year, got into step 4, step 5 team at Amersham as well. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunities after you finish the programme, or even when you're on the programme, to get a look in at other teams. And yeah, I think people that come out of this programme, especially this year and last year, a few of them will go on to a higher level, and hopefully we see a few signed up at Wycombe in the near future, really, like Seb might be in the next few years. So watch out for him.
It's really nice to have those names to look out for, and great to have that affiliation with the club as well, especially now there isn't an academy there as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. The under-19s is really the next step. Obviously, they've got the first team and then the development team that they've just started up. And they're sort of looking at more non-league players and younger players that haven't really been noticed yet. But also, I do know that Matt Bloomfield, and especially when Gareth Ainsworth was there, he used to say he used to look at the footage quite a lot for the under-19 games on when they're recorded on the VOs, and they do have a look at it and do keep an eye on them, because I don't think Wycombe really want any more to slip, because I think they had a few years ago in the academy. I think Gatlin O'Donker now, who's at Oxford, I think, and he's getting a look in the first team now, and he's scored a few goals for them. So I think they let him slip a few years ago. So I don't think they want to sort of make that same mistake again. And I mean, Seb de Versa could easily go on to that level. So I think they'll be looking at him and keeping tabs on him, and hopefully not letting him fall off their radar and other teams come in for him at Marlow. But yeah, let's see what happens there.
Now can we follow more about what the under-19s at Henley are doing?
So I'm running all their social medias this year. So I'm trying to get it more out on Instagram and Twitter. Then to the main focus. On Instagram, it's THC Wycombe Wanderers. That's their Instagram handle. And then I think on Twitter it's the same, but the @ is at Henley Football. So I'm posting all their sort of match day fixtures. I've got the design templates and I set them all up. And then I'm posting the lineups for the elite games, so look out for their names on there, and the names I've already mentioned, sort of look out for. And then I'm posting the results as well. All results, all match days, sort of stuff is covered on there, and I try go to pretty much most home games that are on and try and go on Twitter and sort of sit there and write out when the goals go in and things like that. So I try to keep everything up to date as much as possible. Their facilities are really good. They play their home games at Burnham, the elite side, and the development teams play at Cressex, and they've got good gyms there as well. And the quality of coaching is very good as well there. they're all UEFA A and B qualified, so they're top level coaches, and they're very useful to learn stuff off. I learned stuff in the last 2 years of all coaches. They're very helpful, and yeah, like I said, you get to study loads of subjects alongside it, so it's great for personal development and football development at the same time.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Bill Turnbull, a broadcasting legend whose tireless campaigning for prostate cancer awareness left a lasting legacy for men's health in the UK. Bill's message was clear.
I really want you and your loved ones to take this simple online risk check now.
Let's honour Bill's legacy together. Let's get men across the UK to check their risk. Let's broadcast it like Bill. Check your risk. Share the risk checker. Save lives.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show. Thursdays from 7.
106.6 FM. Wycombe Sound.
Last part of this week's Wycombe Wanderers Show still to come. You'll hear from Wycombe Wanderers manager Matt Bloomfield very shortly, talking to Phil at this week's press session. Though, time to talk Wycombe Wanderers Women. Colin's been chatting to Wycombe Wanderers Women forward, Katie Riddington.
I definitely feel that I'm happy with where my game is, but there's always that little bit of room for improvement, and I do feel that every session I just do keep getting better, so that's definitely a bonus for the team and for myself.
No, absolutely. And does it feel like you're still in the kind of early stage of the season and just settling in with, you know, the new arrivals and just getting used to the start of the season now?
Yeah, definitely. We've had a couple of new players join this season, so we're still just trying to find our feet, but I feel like we're definitely beginning to gel as a team and things are really starting to come together, which is really nice to see.
And it must be such a special time as well, obviously with the success of the Lionesses at the World Cup, and also sort of building on last season with the sort of transition period, but now, you know, really kind of getting settled as a team and with the coaching staff as well.
Yeah, it is a really special time, and I feel like we're definitely growing as a team and definitely improving game on game. So I think it's a very special time for us.
And as well, some great, you know, awareness and, you know, your first home league game and the 1887 and other supporters were there as well. That must have been great to sort of play in front of them.
Yeah, it was really good. The atmosphere was great, and to have that support there was just amazing. And it really gave us a boost on the pitch to go out and put in a good performance, because we knew that those people had come to watch us. So we had to prove to them, you know, this is what Wycombe women are about and this is how we play, sort of thing.
So what's been your assessment of your initial early season results?
I think we've had a good start to the season. First game against Ascot, I think we may have come away a little bit disappointed, feel like we could have done better. But the previous two games, we've got a point in each, which is great. I mean, better start to this season, which, I mean, we've got points on the board, so it's definitely a good start for us. So hopefully we can just push on, continue getting the points and start to really build and push for the league.
Obviously 2-2 on Sunday as well. That must have felt like, you know, so many positives to have taken from that game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's always positives, but as well, with the positives come the negatives. So there's always that chance to learn from our mistakes, but the positives massively outweigh the negatives. So it's really good.
And you mentioned Ascot. You've got them again soon in the FA Cup, of course.
Yeah, we've got them in the FA Cup. So that's going to be a big game. Hopefully we can get as many supporters to come to Ascot to give us that little boost that we might need from the stands, just to help us put our stamp on the game and really go and try and get the win.
And something else, of course, a bit special about last weekend was Charlotte scoring from a corner. That's quite impressive, joining the likes of Jo Jacobson as well, who was impressed on social media to see it too. Yeah,
I mean, it was a great corner. And I mean, she did it again last night in training. So it's something that she's sort of put her trademark to now. So hopefully we'll see a couple more of them throughout the season and she'll be flying.
Yeah, it's getting a bit windy currently as well. Perhaps that'll help others to try it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe I might have to have a go this Sunday if the wind continues.
Yeah, that would be a real help. So how do you go into this week's game? Obviously quite buoyed by recent performances. And as you say, you're getting a bit of consistency in terms of displays and also results now too.
I feel like we're pretty confident going into this weekend. I feel like we've got a strong squad to go into the game. So hopefully we can go there. We can hopefully keep a clean sheet and we can score lots of goals.
And what's the manager said to you all in terms of sort of where you are and the progress that you're making?
He's really pleased with the progress at the moment. he sees a lot of progression from last year, which is great. And hopefully he just wants us to keep building and keep progressing and keep going in an upward trajectory and kind of not go backwards.
And speaking to some of the new players recently, like Julia and Chelsea as well, it's been fantastic to hear how, sort of welcoming they feel. But obviously that won't be a surprise to you because, it's such a great group and a real kind of family atmosphere at the club.
Yeah, there is a real family atmosphere. I mean, from the 18s up to the first team, we all train together. We all get on well. So any new player that comes in gets to know players across all teams. And it is a real family vibe down at Wycombe. So it's really, really nice.
And is there anything personally that you hope to achieve this season? Do you set yourself kind of targets and particular parts of the season, things that you'd like to especially do well at?
Just hopefully score more goals than what I did last season. I finished top goal scorer last year, so hopefully if I can get that again, that would be great.
That must have been such a boost for you as well, going into especially this new season as well, and the awards night as well that you had, and really nice to be acknowledged in that way.
Yeah, it was really nice, and as well getting the players' player, having the support from the players behind me and around me, it's just a great feeling knowing that I can go into the season feeling confident, scoring goals and just play how I want to play, knowing that the support is there when I need it.
And I'm sure you'll want to sort of pay tribute, if you like, to the service that you receive as well, because that's quite important in your goal scoring.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the balls that we always get for the strikers is great. I mean, the service that we get provided with is amazing. So hopefully we can continue on that. And our build-up play recently just teams just can't get near us. So hopefully we continue building, and our build-up play, we can just continue scoring as many goals as we can. Hopefully we can be a high-scoring team. We've got plenty of strikers and plenty of attacking players in the squad, so there's not too much pressure on certain players to score 3 or 4 goals in a game. We can share it about and everyone can play their part in scoring.
And as we sort of touched on, it feels like a great time to be involved in the team, as a player, but also to be following Wycombe Wanderers Women as well.
Yeah, I mean, for the fans, it's great. Hopefully they can see that the progression is there and that we're really trying to build and trying to go forward as a team to hopefully push and just have a better league finish than what we did last year.
And good luck to the Chairgirls, who are away on Sunday against Winchester City Flyers. From Wycombe Wanderers Women to Wycombe Wanderers, here is the manager, Matt Bloomfield, talking to Phil earlier today.
Gaffer, back to league action and a trip to Charlton. Always a great away day for the fans and good memories for Wycombe there down the years as well. Looking forward to this one?
Yeah, very much so. I think that, big ground, good home support. Obviously, they've got a new manager as well, a really well-respected manager who's had a real good career, and someone who we know will do a good job there and everywhere he's been. So it's a game to really look forward to. We've had a good couple of weeks, but we want to make sure that we keep moving forward. There's no being settled with what we've done. We want to make sure that we're hungry for success and we're hungry to go and get another result.
Going there on great form as well.
Yeah, we've been all right recently. We've been pleased with different bits we've been able to put together. Obviously, we really felt that the international break was a real big couple of weeks for us with the amount of work we're able to get done on the training ground. So for me, it's about our mentality and our hunger and our desire to keep tagging on another performance. That's all we ask of the boys, is to try and tag on another performance. If we keep doing that often enough, the results will follow. So yeah, it's all about us with our mentality of enjoying the moment and being hungry for more.
It's the first of quite a few away trips now in the next 4 weeks. We're going to be doing a few miles now, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. I think we've been quite lucky to this point, haven't we? Bristol wasn't far and Northampton wasn't far, but Charlton's another localish one. Then we've got Fleetwood coming up. We've got a few away days coming up, but first and foremost, we have to be ready to go again at the weekend. A couple of the boys got some minutes on Tuesday evening in the EFL Trophy, and we were able to rest a couple, and a couple are still carrying knocks from Blackpool, which is unfortunate. So we'll see how those guys recover and make sure we've got a team that's ready to go on Saturday afternoon.
I was about to ask about the injury situation. We know there's a few long-termers in there, but any news on those? No, nothing to update. I don't think. Jack Grimmer, JJ, Jason McCarthy. Unfortunately, Jason's had a recurrence of his injury, and he'll be out for a foreseeable future. JJ and Jack as well. Unfortunately, they're big characters for us as a football club. Huge players for us over a number of years. So it's a real disappointment to be missing those guys, but what I do know about them and what I can tell everybody is that they're contributing here at the training ground and in the change room on match days. They're top characters, so
they're still contributing. We have got a couple of knocks from last weekend against Blackpool, so we're still kind of seeing if they're ready to go at the weekend. If they're not, then we'll have to adjust, but we hope to have the bodies ready to go.
I think Jack was doing the Twitter updates on Tuesday.
Oh, was he? Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, everyone there loves Jack. He's one of those characters. He wants to be involved all the time. If he's playing, he's right in the thick of it. If he's not playing, he's equally right in the thick of it. Along with JJ and Jace, those guys, like I say, they're the cornerstone of this football club. They're the fabric of this place. So even when he's not playing, Jack finds a way to contribute.
Well, Wycombe, another chance to play in the green kit, but also the medal there from the Prostate Cancer UK Walk on Sunday. Many Wycombe fans will now own these. A magnificent day. Yeah, incredible, and I'm so proud of our club. You speak to anyone about last weekend with the game against Blackpool and then the walk on Sunday. We showcased ourselves as a football club in the best possible way on Sunday. Supporting such a good cause. I spoke to Ceci. She was so proud of the way the club supported their family. In Bill's memory and everyone that took part in the walk. It just shows us as a football club, behind the football, what we're really proud here is the people we are and how we conduct ourselves. The supporters were, incredible Saturday and even better on Sunday doing the walk, and, everyone who took part, it was great. So, a real good feeling about the place. We need to make sure that we use that as energy, but ultimately we have to retain that hunger and desire, which we will, because we're desperate for some more points. Right, on to the Valley. See you in London. Top man. Cheers, mate.
Matt Bloomfield talking to Phil at this week's press session. You can hear that in full on pre-match drills on Wanderers TV later on tonight, or even possibly now. That's it for this week's show. Thanks for listening. Colin's back next week at the normal time, or whenever you listen to the podcast. If you're heading to Charlton on Saturday, enjoy. You can listen to live commentary here on Wycombe Sound and on Wanderers TV on Saturday. Build up from 2. Have a great week, and come on you Blues!